All right, let's get right into it. Every single researcher, and I mean every one of us, from a first-year student to a seasoned academic, runs into the exact same fundamental challenge. It's the one thing that really stands between your idea and, well, it actually happening.
It all boils down to this one question. Why? Why? Should anyone care? Why should this be done? Now, this isn't just about what you're curious about, it's about justification. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how you can answer this question with total confidence.
So let's start by really focusing on that crucial question, because honestly, mastering the answer to it is the absolute key. It unlocks support, it unlocks funding, and it gets people to pay attention to the work you want to do. Look, this isn't just some formality or a box you have to tick. Proving your work's value, that's the bedrock of a successful project. You have to build a really compelling case that your research isn't just interesting to you, but that it's important, that it's necessary, and that it totally deserves attention. And luckily, there's a specific tool designed for exactly that.
And that tool is what we call the research rationale. It's the formal, structured way you answer that big why question. So let's really break down what a rationale is and what it's supposed to do.
To put it as simply as possible, the rationale is your argument. It's that one dedicated section where you stop just describing what you're going to do and you start explaining why it absolutely has to be done. It's your big chance to persuade your reader.
A really strong rationale, it does three things, and it does them well. First, it shows significance. Why this whole topic matters in the first place. Second, it shows the benefits. Who or what is going to be better off because of your hard work. And finally, it provides that all-important justification. Why this project, right now, is the way to go.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Justification sounds kind of abstract, right? A little vague. But the good news is you don't have to invent this stuff from scratch. There are two really clear, really powerful strategies you can use to frame your whole argument. And here they are. You can think of it like a fork in the road. Path 1. You can argue that your research is going to directly improve something that's already out there. Fix a known problem, make a process better. Or path 2. You can argue that your research is going to fill a gap. You're venturing into new territory where we just don't have a lot of information. Let's look at each one.
So this first path is all about being a problem solver. It's about tangible improvement. You see a problem, and you propose a study that's going to lead to a solution. For instance, maybe you notice that students learning English as a foreign language are really struggling with their writing. Well, your research could aim to find practical solutions for that exact difficulty.
And check out this quote. It's a perfect example of how you can phrase this. You can see it's basically a template you could adapt, right? It's direct, it's clear, and it promises a real concrete benefit. You're essentially saying, hey, I'm not just studying a problem here, I'm actually creating a solution.
Okay, now for path number 2. This one is just as powerful. This is for the explorers, the trailblazers, the researchers who are pushing into brand new territory. Your justification here is that our collective knowledge is incomplete, and your work is going to add a crucial, missing piece to the puzzle.
And here we go again, another super useful template. When you state that you scoured the literature and found basically nothing on a topic, especially in a specific context like Algeria here, you're not just sharing an opinion. You're presenting cold, hard evidence of a need. You're making the case that without your research, our understanding of the world is just incomplete.
So, you've chosen your path. You're either going to improve the field or you're going to fill a gap. Now what? How do you actually write it so that it's effective? Let's dive into 4 essential guidelines to make sure your rationale is as compelling as it can possibly be.
Let's just walk through this little checklist, because each point is a game changer. Number 1, be convincing. That means your reasoning has to be strong, clear, and just make sense. 2, use support. Don't just make claims, back them up with references. Show you've done your homework. 3, think broadly. How could your findings help people beyond just your immediate study? And 4, and this one's a big one, start big.
Okay, I really want to emphasize this last point. It is absolutely crucial. Before you can argue for why your study is important, you first have to convince the reader that the entire topic is important. You have to sell them on the idea that listening comprehension, for example, is a vital skill for millions of people before you can argue that your new course is a worthwhile project. You have to set the stage first.
You see, when you bring all these pieces together, a clear path, solid evidence, and a really well-framed argument, your rationale does something pretty incredible. It elevates your project from just being an idea you have into an essential, undeniable contribution to the field.
At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Your research rationale is your passionate, logical, and evidence-based argument for why your work matters, why it deserves to be funded, and why it absolutely deserves a place in the wider conversation. And that, of course, brings us right back to you and your work. After everything we've talked about, I want you to really think, what's its purpose? What gap is your research going to fill? What problem is it going to solve? Answering that question clearly, well, that's the first and most important step you can possibly take.